Good morning. This week I am much closer to home. In fact, I'm at home. I'm standing outside my studio and I thought it would be good to go for a gentle walk just here. And I had a walk planned, but Ounce has just appeared, and the walk I was thinking of doing isn't really a suitable one to do with him. So I think I'm going to do my more traditional walk of walking up and around the hill, and it would be lovely if you would like to join me. Let's go for a walk. The sheep aren't so keen on my walk. I'd forgotten they were in the field in quite such mass, but I don't expect they'll mind too much if we walk around them. Oh, it's a beautiful autumn morning, and I think it is still autumn. I always find this point between autumn and winter difficult to judge, but I think maybe for me it's a bit about the amount of leaves left on trees and the sort of average temperature. I don't know if that's a very good way of judging it, but I'm sure there is an official first day of autumn and first day of winter, or last day of autumn and first day of winter, but yeah, I'm not sure what it is. Gosh, loads of sheep. Last week's walk was a big one for me. Not only, well, actually not particularly the walk itself, which was quite short, but it was very cold. Come on, Ants. Actually, Ants might be having a toilet break. I expect he'll come along in a moment. Yes, not a particularly big walk in terms of distance, but quite a big one in terms of energy. The drive there, which I think I probably said last week, is always a bit further than I think. I forget just how far this last beach is. It's a bit of a trek from the little town of Borth. Not far, but I'm not there when I get to Borth. And it is a very, very exposed beach. Completely flat. And then, of course, I met a friend afterwards, which was lovely as well. But again, more than I normally do. So this last week has been very much a week at home, resting, not being able to do much else. The advantage of that was that I spent some time exploring cookery books, and if you've been watching my vlog posts over on Patreon, you know I've been making comfort food because I'm waking up so early. I'm finding that breakfast time I'm actually usually really hungry at. I've probably been awake for, well, some days I've been awake for about 8 hours by the time it gets around to 9 o'clock. Well, no, that's not true. 7 hours, 6.5 hours. I've been waking up about 2:30. I certainly woke up at 2:30 a couple of times this last week. So yes, when breakfast time rolls around, I've been feeling quite hungry. So I've been wanting to make something reasonably substantial. And I've been exploring both a new recipe book new to me recipe book that I found in a second-hand bookshop, and also a lovely old recipe book from home. So I've enjoyed making comfort food, and I may be doing more of that in the coming week, but I'm hoping not to be quite so tired. I think one of the reasons I do the same walks, I have 2 or 3, or 2 really, regular walks. There's this one I'm doing today around the hill behind the house, and the flatter walk that I've taken you on a couple of times at Trouscoid Woods, which is about a 5-minute drive. The reason that I often stick to those is because I'm really aware of how long they take me and how much energy they use. This one is a slightly higher energy walk, but it's quite short, and I'm kind of okay with it. The flat walk, the shortest flat walk at Trowscoid. Hello. The shortest flat walk at Trowscoid is it's a really easy walk, a nice easy walk, 15 minutes at most on the flat. So that's a good one for low energy weeks. But I've not been there even this week. I don't think I've been. I don't think I've walked this week. Oh gosh, how's abandoned me. I wonder the sheep have spooked him a bit. You probably can't see him, but he is sitting at the bottom of the hill. I might just be able to make him out. Sort of. The exact middle of the screen. So yes, that is a good walk. But I do love this one. Well, I don't have to go anywhere, I don't have to drive, so that's an advantage for this one. And, as you'll see in a moment, when I get to the absolute top of the hill, it's a fantastic view. And it's going to be a very autumnal view today, which I'm not sure I've been able to stop and appreciate much over the last couple of weeks. The colours this autumn, and it's a shame it's a bit of a grey day today, are just so vibrant. I don't think it's that I've not noticed in past years. I think this year the colours are particularly strong, and maybe that was something to do with the long and very, very hot summer that we had. The leaves seem to be staying on the trees longer, though there are plenty on the ground. But nonetheless, they seem to be staying on the trees and creating quite an amazing display. Oh, I actually come a slightly shorter route to get here. I often walk round. I often go through the gate down there. I don't know if you can quite see the gateway. That's one that sheep ran through a few moments ago. Walk around there, walk through a gateway there, walk around the base of the hill and then back up to get here, and I think we've done that together a couple of times. But there's quite a feeling of satisfaction getting here. It feels like quite a magical spot. Actually approaching it from this way feels rather nice and a little bit different. So, here is autumn at Gilwern, which is the name of this little valley that these two hills form, not two houses. And there's all the sheep that were disturbed by me walking, and we wanted to sit in the next field. Sorry, sheep. I hope you can get some sense of the wonderful colours. Oh well, that was a bit sad. You didn't come with me. He's still sitting exactly the same spot at the bottom of the hill, which we'll go down and see him in a moment. I expect he'll walk home with us. And if we just walk a little bit further down, you'll be able to see a bit more of the trees on the side of the hill. I was driven into town a few days ago to see a friend to celebrate her birthday, and just the colours just I don't know, they completely blew me away, particularly driving on the road by those large trees there, sort of straight ahead on the hill. Yeah, quite a day, quite an autumn. So let's just walk down. Just before I left, I put porridge on the stove, so when I get home there'll be some porridge waiting for me. So well, porridge is sort of comfort food, but not quite the lunchish comfort food I have been making recently. This morning I woke up, well again it was about 2:30 that I woke up, but I did go back to sleep, which I haven't been doing. And I had quite a nice nap, and I woke up, I don't know, maybe 7ish, just feeling warm and snug, which isn't something that happens very often, and it's so lovely. It's so lovely when it does, that feeling that you're just cocooned in warmth. And I think the temperature at the moment is just right for that. I started having a hot water bottle again, and I did refill it before I tried to go back to sleep. So that was still warm. And the room wasn't too cold, but wasn't too hot either. So bed just felt like a wonderfully warm haven. So that was good. And it also meant that it feels more like breakfast time than lunchtime this morning. So I'm indulging that, and the simplicity of that too, by making my morning porridge, which has got some blueberries in and some tahini, which is my current favourite porridge. So I'm looking forward to that, looking forward to get home. And I'm noticing that whilst my hand is starting to feel a little bit cold holding the camera, it's nothing like it's been feeling on the last couple of walks that I did. So all in all, I think today's choice was a good one. It does feel very grounding just to come and have a walk here near home. The walk I had thought I was going to take would have been a slightly easier one because it was on the flat, but it's not circular, and I do enjoy circular walks. And the reason that I didn't really want to ounce the jogging on that one was because it ends at a gate with a very enticing wood behind it, and the cats tend to decide it's a much more interesting thing to play in those woods than it is to follow me home. And whilst I'm sure they would find their own way back, I always feel a bit as if I'd taken them somewhere and want to see them back on home turf. So this felt like a better option, though I'm rather ashamed that little Ounce didn't come with us. But never mind. Hello, I'm going home now. You're going to come? If you are. So there. Just a little bit long to walk here along the hedge to get back to the gate. So interesting, it's good making these videos of these walks because I can see that walk is taking me about 12 minutes, which by the time I get back to the gate isn't going to be very different than the short circular walk I do at Trouscoid. And I wonder if a sort of 15-minute walk is quite a good one. It's quite a good one for me actually. This one, because it has so much up in it, is more of a challenge, but I do know how much up, and I am sort of used to it, which is good. It's interesting actually, often in town, walking on pavement I find really quite difficult, but walking here on grass, even walking uphill, is okay most of the time. It's possible to overdo it and push myself, but I think today was alright for this walk. Yeah, it's very grounding to walk at home. I think it's been good for me to have a very, very at home week, and not just at home, but also very in the house week. I haven't really been to my studio very much at all this week, which at times I was feeling a bit frustrated about and a bit disappointed about. But it has been good exploring cookery and cooking and making some interesting things, which I have enjoyed. And yeah, just looking after myself at home. So I'm not quite sure what the week ahead is going to be, but I hope it's not going to be too dictated by the walk that I chose to do. I think probably it won't. So here we are. Oh, hello, Ounce. Oh, we missed him. He's just running off down the garden. Just be able to catch him through the hedge. Oh, there we are. I shall leave you. I hope you will come and join me for a 20-minute work session, and we can spend some time working on our current creative projects together. I shall see you for that very shortly. just pouring myself out some tea. Well, that was a good walk. I'm very glad that I decided to keep it simple and keep it local this week. Yeah, it was a good choice. Are you ready to do some work with me? I shall set the timer for 20 minutes. I have my blanket ready on my lap. I think last week I'd started on this colour. Maybe it was during the midweek work session. I get a bit muddled, but anyway, I'm working on the orange on the blanket, and I wonder what you're working on this week. As always, I love to hear in the comments what you're doing. And also how your week has been and how it's going. This week for me has been very much about resting, and how at times it's felt like a bit of a challenge to rest, and sort of being aware of my limits, which was brought on by last week's walk, which was a bit of a stretch for me. So I do want to be a bit careful about that. As I said in the walk this week, it wasn't really the walk itself, though I think I'd underestimated how cold it was, and that is a bit of a thing actually for me. I have to be careful not to get cold. But in my excitement, I'd picked somewhere to go to which was further than I remembered, and I'd also arranged to meet a friend afterwards. So a little bit, I hope, of a lesson learned from that, to not maybe not to go so far, at least, maybe not to go so far, and not to arrange anything else around the walk. I think because the week before I'd had breakfast afterwards. I really liked that. It was a good thing. But it's different, I think, for me to go somewhere and eat than it is to go somewhere and meet somebody and have a conversation, which could be quite a draining thing. And it's so easy, isn't it, to get lost in conversation. It goes on longer. So actually I was out for a very, very long time last week, much longer than I normally would be. So there was a price to pay for that, and this week I've had to accept that and work within it. That's all right. Making these podcasts is an experiment, and when we experiment, we learn a lot from the things that we do wrong. So I just need to be a bit more careful. I do like the idea of having breakfast after a walk, though. Maybe I can experiment with incorporating that in a different way. Maybe not next week. I wonder if next week needs to be a very local walk again. But maybe I can go a little further afield occasionally. We will see. We will see. But it's been good, I think, to be a bit faced with the need to rest. I'm a very big advocate for rest and taking rest before we desperately need to, and not being ashamed of needing to rest. Being a bit public about resting. But this week it was a necessity. It was always a necessity, but it was a more immediate necessity, and I was, you know, a bit reluctant at times to give in, and that's often the case because I think, you know, when I'm tired, my judgment becomes impaired, so I'm less able to make good choices. So if you've been watching my vlog posts over on Patreon this week, you'll be aware of my my challenges, shall we say, around needing to rest, and my grumpiness about it as well at times. But you know, I've done all right. I've not done badly. I think I should be pleased with myself. Oh dear. I've been doing this for years, this sort of dancing around how to look after myself and the best way to do it, and, you know, living the best life I can around all of that. So it's good. It is good to, as much as possible, to treat these things with a bit of a sense of humour, and to see the way you repeat old patterns that don't serve us well. But yeah, it's been a week of that for me. So I'm hoping that I've, you know, if I haven't put some energy in the energy bank, I hope I haven't taken out more than I've put in this week, and I am hoping that perhaps I have put a little extra in this week. So next week I'm hoping can be an easier week. I'm still going to rest. What I've been finding, and I may have well talked about this before here, is that doing something one day followed by a rest day is actually has been quite a good pattern for me. It's been rather necessary, but it has worked quite well. So I think I'm going to stick to that routine next week, and decide it in advance, because one of the big things I realised this week was how good it is, and reminding myself how good it is to plan rest in advance. And that way I don't need to have the debate with myself that I've been having this week about whether the day does need to be a rest day. Whether, you know, my default seemed to be I had plans, and if I didn't feel able to do them, I would have a rest, which I don't think is a good thing. Because I want to do the things I've planned. So I think it was, I can't remember what day of the week it was now. It was one day when I just decided the next day was going to be a rest day. Was it yesterday, in fact? I think it was. And yes, it was. Of course it was. Yeah, so I just decided that it was going to be a rest day, and I woke up knowing it was, which was brilliant, actually, and I really enjoyed that. I did have, for a little while in the morning, because I actually woke up feeling quite good, quite sprightly, I had a while in the morning with a bit of a debate with myself about, well, it wasn't a debate about doing things, it was that things sort of kept popping up that I thought, oh, I could do that, that could be done. That would be a good thing to get out of the way. And I really did just push those things away. I could see what was happening. It was all right. But it is interesting, isn't it, that that's the sort of thing that happens when we make some space. The tendency is to fill it, and we have to be quite firm around that. And not let any of it in, because I think, you know, there's a little crack, and we say, well, just do that little thing. So it's so easy for it to expand and take over. So I was quite proud of myself yesterday for being firm around that and just enjoying having a rest. So I'm going to do my best to do that again next week. We will see. We will see how that goes. Wish me luck, and if you're in a similar place, I wish you luck too. just think a little bit of firmness around our boundaries is a good thing. I've been reading a book called How to Break Up with Your Phone, which someone recommended to me quite a while ago, and I sort of avoided looking at it, but I've been really aware this last few months that my phone has been my distraction, and so that I reach for it when I'm feeling a bit unsettled and a bit uncomfortable, and a lot. And if you've got an iPhone, you probably know that recently Apple added an app that that tells you how long you've been on your phone and what you've been doing with it each week. And I was really quite shocked how long I spent on my phone. And my phone isn't my only screen. I have my computer here that I work on, and I have a laptop in the house. So yeah, it was a bit of a shock how much time I must be spending staring at screens. So I was sort of tinkering with that for a few weeks, trying to work out a way of improving that, cutting back a bit, and actually I was just getting worse. So someone else reminded me about this book that had been recommended, and I bought it, and I've been reading it. And whilst I haven't sort of followed there's a 30-day plan in the second half of the book, I haven't been following that yet, though I might do. I have been thinking about it a lot, and the first half of the book is a bit like aversion therapy. It tells you what's happening to your brain when you're scrolling mindlessly through your phone. And I have been noticing just how difficult it is to hold a stream of thought, to hold an argument in my head, to kind of develop thoughts and write them down or just think them recently. And I mean, I do get days when actually my brain is so foggy that it's difficult to think anyway, so I don't want to make it worse. I don't want to add to that. So I have been, so that aversion therapy has made me pause now every time I reach for my phone. I'm really aware of that tendency and the feelings that go along with it, often anxiety, that make me reach for it. And and I'm doing it here. I'm showing you that kind of that motion. It's it's just so second nature, flicking through and not really taking very much in. I mean, it is sort of about. I mean, it's it is a sort of it is an addiction, and there is the initial what's the word I want? Well, the reward from that addiction, when you get the initial kind of calming and in the moment perhaps feeling better, but I know that coming away, putting my phone down, I never feel good afterwards. It's not a positive experience overall. It's a numbing experience. That's what I want. So I'm being numbed. Gosh, I'm being very opinionated, aren't I, this week? Sorry. I don't think phones are necessarily bad things overall, but I have become quite addicted to mine, and I'm a bit surprised. A few years ago, I had a really lovely summer when I just switched everything off, and it was easy. The first day of August, I turned my Wi-Fi off, and I turned it on once a week just to do a few things that I'd planned during the week to do, and turned it off again. And it was easy. There was no withdrawal symptoms at all. It was actually just lovely. Life felt slower and gentler, and it felt like there was space. And I've tried to repeat that at other times and haven't been able to do it. And I suspect it's because my attachment to my phone and my iPad and the internet has become stronger and stronger over the years since then. And it would be lovely to get back to being able to sometimes have that disconnected space. So I am trying. There's lots of lovely things about my phone too, of course. I must admit, Instagram is one thing that that I'm really enjoying at the moment. It feels like there's a real sense of community and caring there in a way that there really doesn't feel like there is in other social networks that I use. I've been cutting back an awful lot on Facebook recently. So that's lovely. But I just think perhaps being a bit more conscious about when I'm using and why I'm using the phone is probably a good thing. So if I make a decision to visit Instagram, you know, I'm doing it to look for things and to perhaps answer comments on my stream and comment on other people's. And just the last few days I've been setting a timer for that. So I set a 20-minute timer, and it's surprising how quickly it goes. And you know, I try and stop when the timer goes off, which, you know, seems to be working reasonably well actually. Makes me choose a bit more at what I'm doing. I'm trying really hard not to make picking up my phone or my iPad or my laptop the first thing I do in the morning. I leave my phone, and I have done for a while actually, I leave my phone charging downstairs, so it's not in my bedroom, and that's been a habit for quite a long time. But I often have my iPad somewhere near, and my laptop charges upstairs in my room as well, so it's not at hand. I have to get up to get it, but it's not far away. So I wonder if I would need to, or it would be good to charge my laptop somewhere else as well. But this morning I had a couple of hours before I did any online stuff, and that did feel good. I had a couple of insights which was rather good. You know, there was a bit of space for pondering, for thinking. So good. So I was pleased about that. We will see. I'll see what the Apple app says about my usage this week. Of course, one thing it's counting is all the videos I make, because the screen I use my phone to record the walks and these sessions. So this work session with the podcast, but also my midweek work session. And on Patreon, I also make pretty much daily vlog posts, which aren't very long, but I have my phone on for that. So it's a bit different. This is different. This isn't that kind of mindless scrolling, and that does get counted into the screen time. So I need to take that into account. It is possible in the app to see what things, which apps you're using, so I can discount the camera, I think, and but you know, it was news apps that was the really big thing. I set a limit on those a few weeks ago, and I pretty much always hit the limit each day, and I started to sneakily find ways around it, to use other apps or to look at news in a browser instead. So you know, it's not so easy, but you know, I don't think I'm doing too badly. I think I'm doing okay with it. Yeah, well, I'd be interested to hear how you feel about all of this. I mean, I think in lots of ways, you know, it's lovely. The phone is a really useful tool for me. It's lovely to take photos. It's lovely to be able to do the videos. It's lovely to be able to talk to people. But I just think it needs a bit of conscious thought around it. Oh, there we go, 20 minutes. That's not so bad. How did you get on? I hope that you've had, in fact it's not quite 20 minutes, it's 19 minutes and 40 odd seconds, so I'm sorry about that. We've had a slightly short session. I think it might be time for a new timer. I do add a little bit when I wind it up to the 20 minutes. I've noticed it is a bit fast, but maybe it's almost time for a new timer.
But I hope you've had a good 19 minutes and 40 seconds and that you've moved whatever creative project you're working on a little. I'd be really interested to hear, as always, what you're working on, how your week's gone. And, well, yeah, if these thoughts around phones and connection and numbing have struck a chord, I'd love to hear what you think. And also the positive stuff that we get from this connection. The internet has made such a huge difference to me. You know, almost all my connections, there are a few very close friends here, are via online connections, because I'm very much at home so much of the time, and going out is quite a big deal for me. It's lovely that I've been able to do it, that I'm doing it regularly, but it's still, you know, that's it really. What you see here is largely when I get to go out. So these connections are really important to me, and the internet has brought those to me, and my phone is part of that. So I'm not dismissing. I don't want to dismiss the phone from my life. I just want to be more conscious around it, and I'd be interested to hear what you think around all of this. Take care. Have a lovely week. If you are on Patreon, I will see you there for regular vlog posts and the midweek work session, and it'll be lovely to work alongside you with that and to chat in the vlogs. If you're not already subscribed here on YouTube, I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit the subscribe button, and if you hit the little bell button beside that, you get a notification every time a new podcast goes up. But generally I aim to get these online on Saturdays at about 4 p.m. If you're on Patreon, you get access to them a day earlier, assuming I get them done. That seems to be working. I seem to be managing to do that, so you'll get it. You can watch this from 4 p.m. on a Friday. That's all UK time. If you enjoy this, please give it a thumbs up. That really does help. And of course, if you're able to support me on Patreon, I will be very, very grateful. And the link will be at the end of the video and also in the comments below. Take care. I shall see you either in the week or I shall see you next week. Have a lovely week.